Let's talk a little bit about earning strategies. We're coming into that season, aren't we? Into the next quarter, so to speak. So let's talk about some earning strategies. This was prompted by Rick. He posed a simple question for us. Would it be possible to discuss earnings trade strategies? Well, we have a full playlist on the topic on our YouTube channel. Plus, there's a variety of other content that's available on PowerOptions itself, including other YouTube videos and more. And we offer several tools that can help you identify positions with earnings between now and expiration, between now and a couple of weeks from now, or not between now and expiration, which is commonly what I use for my 1 week out, 2 week out bull put credit spreads and other strategies where they're not earnings plays as well. All right, let's jump into it. YouTube at PowerOptions. Just go to our PowerOptions YouTube page. I didn't realize that truncated when the size increased. That's okay. But youtube.com/@PowerOptions. Click the playlist link, and then you'll see a full playlist, 11 videos for earnings discussions. Now, you don't need to go through all of those, but here's what you're going to see. Strategies for earnings, protecting stock for earnings, and more. Talking about different strategies, but also talking about, hey, I've got a stock that's up in price. Many of us had that, coming into the end of 2025 and large market movements. How can I lock in those gains, maybe reward myself and leave the upside open? We call that the hat trick for locking in gains. That's not discussed here. We'll talk about that in a moment. Direct questions from the comments that came through on that video. That initial video on the strategies, there were 2 comments that came in on the YouTube video. We did 2 videos on that to cover that from PK and Tiny Pirate. A little bit about straddles for earnings. A brief follow-up from straddles for earnings. Evaluating implied volatility crush around earnings. Very important to run your evaluations. What if scenarios? We do that on the PowerOptions tools through the profit and loss chart, Black-Scholes calculators, and other models. You want to make sure that you're doing that with an earnings play to see how your trade, what your expected return that you thought you had might not be what it actually is based on implied volatility crush, implied volatility changes, and much more after the event. Are ratio back spreads the best trade for earnings? Double calendars, are they a good play for earnings? Or double diagonals? Directional calls and puts after earnings, and are calendar or diagonal spreads a good trade around earnings? In addition to that, the 11th video that's shown was a gentleman who was trading collars, standard collar positions. Buy stock, sell an out of the money call, buy an out of the money put, have a low risk of maybe 3-4%, a capped upside of 4 or 5%. And he wanted to know, what is the optimal time for entering a collar on earnings? And these other videos discuss that too a little bit, about the optimal time we feel when you should get in. There are some investors, I should say this, that play a strategy that is looking for an implied volatility increase before the earnings event. So they'll buy a call, buy a put, buy a strangle, buy a straddle. And then as earnings comes up, the implied volatility of the options increases in anticipation of the event. I have a video on that somewhere, but it's not on this playlist specifically. I should add it. In any case, we had a conversation. When is the best time to do that? You really want to be about 5 or 6 weeks, 4 or 5 to 6 weeks before the earnings event. So that last 12 to 10 days when the implied volatility starts to creep up. And these investors, what they do is they close the position trying to look for an implied volatility profit on their options before the event even happens. I haven't had much success with that, to be honest with you, but we found the best time, looking at 4 or 5 different examples, was to go about 3 to 4 weeks, 5 weeks out in time, 5 weeks prior to the earnings event coming up, buy the options or the straddle then, and then close it a day or 2 before the earnings event. But it was about a 58-59% success ratio. It wasn't always as profitable because there were so many weeks in between where the market could move, and now your strike prices that you bought into are irrelevant. They're either too deep out of the money to begin with. Maybe if it was a straddle, you already made profit. I'm getting into the woods there, so let me just stop that right there. The other way you can look for more information on the earnings, go to our YouTube channel, of course, at PowerOptions. Under the videos, on the magnifying glass, little search feature there, search for earnings. You'll see some of the ones in the playlist, but you'll also see some of these ideas on managing a married put with a sudden earnings move up or down, part 1, and then later on part 2. the hat trick, follow up to earnings season hat trick. And there's also the earnings season hat trick. When you own stock, have an unrealized gain, hey, lock in that profit. We've got the stock insurance tool on PowerOptions. Sell a call to reward yourself, bring in income, and then use our income method number 6 in the blueprint follow-up to leave the upside open while still getting income and having a bulletproof trade going through earnings. Follow up to the risks of a double diagonal as an earnings play, which implies that yes, there's a different video on the risks of double diagonal as an earnings play. There's a little baseball diamond there as well. So just search for earnings. I think there was 49 or 48 different videos there, 11 of which were included in the playlist, and there's more related to different strategies and follow-ups, concerns, ideas, and more. So that's another way you can find videos. In addition to that, on our long straddle homepage, and long strangle, I believe as well, buying a call, buying a put at the same strike price as straddle, a popular approach for earnings, expecting a swing one direction or the other, or the strangle, buying an out-of-the-money call and out-of-the-money put for a lower price, but you've got a wider upper and lower break-even, you need more movement. Those are sometimes popular strategies, but they do suffer from the implied volatility crush. But on the long straddle homepage, underneath the profit and loss chart, there's an introduction to straddles video. And as you can see here at about the 450 mark, we talk about straddle events that you would use: an FDA drug announcement, merger announcement, earnings, systemic market event, broker rating change, things of that nature. And you'll actually hear Ernie on this 30-minute video. Instead of me, you get a break from my voice. You get to hear Ernie talk about straddles there and that thing. So that's also the long straddle introduction to straddles video. Just another idea. The full playlist on PowerOptions, searching for earnings as a topic on the PowerOptions page, and on the long straddle homepage, the introduction to straddles, but he does break down what he initially was looking for earnings straddles, and some other ideas and some concepts as well. All right, now, not just videos, not just education, tools and ideas for straddles and other earnings plays. On PowerOptions, on the main homepage, trial member or subscriber, you can select which pods you want to view: market sentiment tool, the picks of the day, covered call monthly and weekly, naked put weekly and monthly, bull put credit spread weekly and monthly, and so forth. Next live webinar, your watch list, and so many more, but earnings announced today. Now, that's not really something that maybe we're talking about, because we got a pod here that shows the earnings announced today, and it's only one annex, and we've got about 3 on Monday, and there's about 4 or 5 on Tuesday the 13th. But when you have this pod here, you can click the link that says view upcoming earnings announcements, and that's going to take you to this broader view here. And what the broader view does for us is it gives us a breakdown of what's coming up, which which stocks are coming up with earnings. So there's our annex, ANIX, and of course 109 after market. Let me write that down real quick. I want to see, was there a big move on annex, and what could we have done with it, or anything along those lines. Well, the stock is at 337. So what you're seeing here is, here's your stock name and symbol. Here's the current price changed today, both monetary and percentage, the earnings date, the earnings time of date, before or after market, and is it confirmed? All right, so annex was Sci-Fi Technologies before market on 112. That's rare, but on Monday before the market opens, SIFY is going to report there. What is this? SIV. This is the stock's implied volatility index, the average of the in the money and out of the money calls and puts on this particular stock for the next few 2 or 3 expiration cycles. If it has weeklies, it's this standard month, the next standard month, and the ones in between, I believe. And what expiration date would I choose for a straddle? Remember, that's buying a call and buying a put at the same strike, and we're looking for a wide swing one direction or the other. With a stock at 337, we're looking at the 5 strike option. Okay, so we go down the list here and we see some other things, and we've got some things I don't even recognize. Maxion Solar, never heard of it. Alt 5 Sigma, don't know it. Lifecore Biomedical, I can guess what it does, don't know it. Don't know RCI, B. Riley Financial, I've seen that symbol before on some low-cost buy calls, but hey, we've got Delta Airlines here. 72.07 up 78 cents today, 1.1%. Earnings coming out on Tuesday before market, and that is confirmed. The SIV is low, as you'd expect. I mean, we're comparing it to biomedicals, solar technology, and we don't even know what Alt 5 Sigma is. I don't know what Alt 5 Sigma is personally. Could be anything. Straddle expiration near term. An idea, looking for a short pop on the position of January 16th. Standard expiration, but 1 week out. And you choose the strike of $72. Right at the money. Again, buying a call, buying a put, V-shaped profit and loss chart, probably an increased IV. We want to run what would happen with an IV crush in this case. I might walk us through that in just a little bit as well. But it's another way that you can find ideas of, hey, what earnings are coming up and what quick straddles are available that are at the money. What am I looking at as far as SIV? Very high, very high, fairly high. Okay, not too shabby, not too shabby. A little high, but not too bad. And delta, the SIV that we'd expect in those cases. But it's not just a view. You can do much more than that, of course, as you can with any position in PowerOptions. And those of you who use PowerOptions know what I'm talking about because you can see it right here. You've got your more information button next to each one of these positions that come up here, where you can view the earnings, of course, and these earnings straddles right directly from the pod, which means that I can now do further research, analysis, run what if scenarios as I could with any position. We can look at the stock chart, company information and news, stock and option research that you saw earlier. I can go to the option chain to maybe compare others. I can go to the search by symbol tool so I can see other straddles at other strikes if I have a bullish or bearish bias. But of course, most importantly, we can link to the profit and loss chart for this specific straddle that was mentioned on that upcoming earnings view from the link in the earnings pod. And that allows me to run the what ifs. Hey, what if my implied volatility drops, 0.05, 0.10, 0.30? What if it goes back to the norm? How would I know what the norm is? Maybe we'll walk through that too a little bit also, just to give you guys an idea, okay? But that's what it's there for, so that you can further research and analyze this potential position as an idea, as an earnings play. Long straddle, earnings coming up. But of course, patented suite of tools, patented search and analysis tools, but the patented search tools, you have sample searches and you can adjust the search to find specific ideas. Under the long straddle, and if I'm not mistaken, under the long strangle, not in the search itself, the default search, but in the sample searches where we have theme searches for most of our, for all, I should say, of our 23 supported different option strategies, you see here under long straddle a sample search of earnings surprise. So it's a default search looking for positions with certain option criteria, a low range of implied volatility that's not too high. I believe we might be looking even for a certain net debit to strike price ratio. One of the things Ernie likes to look at, that's described in his video that we looked at, the intro to straddles, or I hinted at and showed you where to find. But with earnings coming up in the next few days, so you can use that for ideas. You can use that as a template to, of course, customize your own search. Speaking of which, in any of the 23 plus option strategies we support on PowerOptions, under the fundamentals tab in the search, so in every search you'll have the same 4 tabs: options, stock technicals, stock fundamentals, and your own list. And in the fundamentals, you'll have an earnings date field as well as the ex-dividend date field. But we're talking about the earnings. You'll have the earnings date field where you can screen specifically for stocks that have an earnings date between now and your expiration date. You would have set the expiration date you want into the options criteria, the time frame, whether it want to be 1 month out, 3 months out, 1 week out, 5 days out, whatever your preference. Between now and X weeks from now. So I buy a call option, I buy a straddle that's 2 months out. I want the earnings to be between 2 and 4. Oh, that's days. I apologize. Some of them you'll see this in weeks, but this one's in days. So, okay, I want to be between 2 to 4 days, and I'm buying on the 16th. I'm buying my expiration I set to be 7 days out on the time frame view there. Or like I do with my credit spreads, if I was opening a new covered call, new cash secured naked put for longer term selling, longer term growth, I'm going to check that box for not between now and expiration. I don't want any surprises on my credit spread or anything along those lines. So we have some sample searches for you. We have some default searches for you that will look for the earnings between now and expiration or between now and X days from now, but you can customize that any way you want in any of the strategies based on what strategy you're trying to use, you're preferring to use, you're looking to use for your earnings plays, Rick. That's all available. All right, quick review here. Full playlist on earnings discussions on PowerOptions YouTube. Go to youtube.com/@PowerOptions. Look us up there. Go to our playlist, 11 videos on earnings discussion. More videos just on the videos link or search on PowerOptions YouTube channel for quote unquote earnings. And you'll see a variety of different videos that we looked at as well. That intro to long straddles on the long straddle homepage. You get to hear Ernie's voice there discussing straddles, introduction to straddles, and ideas for concept for that. The earnings pod on the main homepage for PowerOptions trial members and subscribers. Click that link for upcoming earnings. You see the ones coming up in the next few days, and you'll have that straddle view, and then you can further research and analyze, run the profit and loss chart to evaluate potential positions. Potential IV crush and how that would affect your trade. The sample searches for earnings in straddles and strangles, long straddles and long strangles, if I'm not mistaken. Create your own search using the fundamental earnings date filters in any strategy, even if you're trying to do earnings on covered calls. I've got a variety of, a handful, I should say, maybe a little bit more than a handful, maybe a baker's dozen customers I talk to that use the ex-dividend date between now and expiration. They're selling in-the-money calls on a stock that has an ex-dividend date coming up between now and their expiration date because they're hoping it stays in the money. They get assigned early and they get the maximum return on that position. They're not looking for the dividend. They're looking to get assigned early on that trade. It's not guaranteed, but it's something that they do. But the earnings, you can schedule it to be between, as you saw, between now and the expiration date you selected in the options filters for the time frame, not between now and expiration, or between X and Y days from now, X and Y weeks from now. You can set that up as well to create your own search in over any of the over 23 different strategies we support on PowerOptions for earnings filters. And of course, you need more guidance, ideas, concepts. Hey, send us an email, give us a call, schedule a coaching session. That's what we're here for, okay? So that's for Rick. That's just a review on what's available in PowerOptions and the wide umbrella of everything from education, application, direct discussion on strategies, tools in the given strategies, direct view using the pods for ideas you might not have had with upcoming earnings and more, and a view of strategy that you can take and follow up and follow through, of course, with the videos and much, much more.